Let's see if anybody decides to jump on for a nice little, I guess, midday storm, baby. Try and have a little discussion, see what's up, what's poppin'. So, by the way, if you're watching this, today's my birthday, so I want to do something a little more casual, because I didn't upload this week, obviously, the birthday week. So, but I didn't want to leave you completely high and dry, nothing. So Saturday's a lot more chill before I go out, do stuff, all that jazz. So I'm gonna chill here, and I'm gonna give a couple, like maybe another minute or two, and then I'm gonna dive into a little bit of what I have here on the screen, and we can vibe it out, talk it out. Let me know what your opinions are and what all that stuff is. So just, I guess, chill, vibe it out. Just, I guess you can kind of get started on reading the article if you want to, but like I said, I'm just gonna give it like maybe another minute, and then I'm gonna dive into what I was gonna talk about. Thank you very much. I appreciate the birthday wishes. Thank you. 26 years old. 4 years away from 30. What's so crazy? I always, I always remember like when I was like younger, and I was fiending to be 13, because I was born and raised in church for the most part. So like I was fiending to be 13, like, oh damn, to be 13. Finally hit 13 because I was able to go to like this overnight church event, and then that happened, and then I was just like, wow, that's it. So when once you get to a certain age, I guess time just flies by so quickly. But yeah, I guess we can dive into what I at least want to talk about for today for this live stream. I don't know when exactly it's going to be ending. Like I said, I'm kind of playing it by ear. A lot more chill, a lot more relaxed. So based on the title you see up above on your screen right now, it says Black Lightning Season 3, new metahuman Brandon may be an adaptation of Markovian superhero Geo-Force. Now, if you've ever kept up with any of the, Outsider comics when it comes to DC Comics, Geo-Force was basically a part of the Outsiders, and he had a whole fight scene with Black Lightning. I use those panels all the time for like pretty much a lot of my Black Lightning videos because it is like an epic fight. I think you should check that out. That was definitely the Outsiders Volume 2, if I remember correctly. But now, it says right under the article, it says Geo-Force is easily one of the coolest characters associated with Markovia, and the show's take on the character. If it really is him, it's quite interesting. Hopefully we get to see Brandon fully blossom into the hero in the coming episodes. Okay, so the reason I kind of feel like this is a possibility is more or less just what he says and kind of what his powers do. Alright, so we see in the last episode of Black Lightning, for the most part last Monday, basically you see that how Brandon's power interacts with Jennifer's isn't so much that he's absorbing her powers, but it seems like he's more of a ground. Now, I don't know if any of you, like into like all that, I guess, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if you've ever set up like a circuit board or something like that. Or even, let's say, even a battery for a car. You do have like, I guess, a ground of some sorts. Basically, it's something that offsets, extra added energy, so that way you don't get like extreme feedback and electrocute yourself. At least that's the most basic way of describing it. Now, it says, like, according to the article, it says, when it's revealed that the nation of Markovia would be the primary villains of Black Lightning Season 3, we speculated, like, I made a whole video about it, an entire video about it, that basically they will probably introduce Breon Markov or Geo-Force some way, shape, or form. Now, I don't know, maybe for legal reasons they didn't, or maybe because it's primarily a black show, they didn't want to take, Geo-Force straight out the comics, because shows do have certain liberties when it comes to characters, as well as if the character is popular enough, then it's very much possible that they could, kind of, I guess, get away with it, and then somehow they might get integrated into the comic books, which is what happened with, Batman Beyond, Harley Quinn, characters like that in DC. But it says the Prince of Markovia and the metahuman superhero has fought alongside both the Justice League and the Outsiders in the comics. Now, episode 6 has revealed that Geo-Force has in fact been introduced to the show, though in a very different way from what we expected. Brandon Jacking Guillory, I'm pretty sure I butchered that name. I've never seen a last name like that before. Was introduced right at the beginning of the season as a new student in Garfield. He seemed more or less like a normal kid, and even thought they had a rocky start. He eventually became friends with Jennifer, basically Lightning, blah blah blah. Now, Brandon's metahuman powers were first revealed at the end of episode 5 and episode 5 and episode 6. We got a better demonstration of what he can do. It seems like Brandon has a connection to the Earth, which apparently why he can ground Jennifer's electrical powers, and the ability to manipulate mineral matter just like Brion can in the comics. Now, this is, like I said, this section of the article I feel like is a kind of a dead on when it comes to Brion and his abilities, what he's capable of. Now, Brion was extremely powerful in retrospect. I don't know if any of you are watching the Titans, the animated TV show. Why am I saying Titans? I guess I'm looking at the Titans, ad over here. So like my mind automatically went to Titans. But Young Justice, season 3, where basically Brion it seems like his powers kind of melt and degrade Earth kind of to its lava state, when in reality, hello there, Asmodeus Black. Just chatting about Black Lightning, like something really casual. Yeah, so basically I feel like his powers are a lot more powerful in the comics as well as, in Young Justice, but in the TV show they kind of gave it a rudimentary kind of aspect where he can manipulate the Earth more or less, and maybe he doesn't have quite the control over the Earth, at least not yet, that we would like to see, but I do feel like he possibly could be a version of, Brion. Mostly because even in the episode, he was chasing Dr. Helga Jace, and even says in the article right there, for example, in episode 6, Brandon revealed that he has a vendetta against Dr. Helga Jace, Jennifer Riker, obviously, which is another thing that ties him to Brion, who also has a vendetta against the morally ambiguous scientist, which is true. Now, we see this in Young Justice, where she was very manipulative, and we see this in the Outsiders comics. She tried to introduce herself as somebody who was trying to help, but in reality, she didn't really want to help anybody. She was out for herself, but she will do anything to make it seem that way in order to get what she needs or get what she wants out of somebody. So this is what kind of ties him very well to Helga Jace, because the simple fact that he's simply chasing her, only after her. So maybe Brandon may not be his real name. Maybe Brandon might be, the Prince of Markovia, and maybe that's the reason why the Markovians are over here in Freeland. You never really know. Like I said, you don't know where the story's going to go, and maybe Odell really is the bad guy, and he was a part of the whole reason why Helga Jace even killed Brandon's mother or had any involvement with Brandon's mother. So that's very much possible. Now, like I said, Geo-Force is by far one of the most interesting characters when it comes to the Outsiders comic books, because his powers are, it's hard to describe them. It's not just the Earth he can manipulate gravity, and Black Lightning, when he was facing against him, don't get me wrong, like, it was a great fight, and he lost by technicality because Black Lightning just simply wasn't trying to kill him. But I don't know. It's hard to say, like, because I feel like Brion probably could take Black Lightning. Like, it definitely wasn't like a cut dry kind of fight. But like I said, Black Lightning is way more powerful than what they depict in the show. As well as even in that fight, Black Lightning, if he wanted to kill Brion, he could have did it easily. So I don't know. It's very weird. But when it comes to his powers, he can manipulate not just the Earth, gravity, pretty much anything that entails the Earth, anything that's related to the Earth. That's his thing. He can do that. So I can say for the most part, I do agree with this article for the most part that, yes, I feel like this may be some version of Brion, or it could simply just outright be Brion. And then what could be happening is he's taking under the guise of another name just so he can kind of move inconspicuously. But my main question is, how the heck did he get into Freeland during the occupation? How didn't the ASA flag his name already? Which kind of makes me question, like, yeah, he may be doing what he's supposed to do in terms of hunting Helga Jace, but maybe not for the reason he says he is. Because there's no way he could have gotten into the unless he knows how to hack and do all that stuff just, you know, himself. There's no way he could have gotten into the city of Freeland just, you know, by himself without any kind of assistance, unless he had those levels of hacking skills. Because remember, they have surveillance everywhere. Literally, they're watching people's cell phones, radio signals, anything coming in and out of the city. They're basically watching, especially when it comes to electronics and how powerful social media is. So I don't know if what he's saying is the truth in terms of, you know, like I said, the reason why he's hunting Dr. Helga Jace, but the way that he kind of just came into everything, and then it seems like he just is there, no parenting, he's not with anybody. It's just a little odd. That's why the timing is a little off, and that's what makes me worried that he might be someone who might be a problem later. But for the most part, we still don't know too much about him. Hopefully Monday, you know, 2 days from now, we'll kind of get an idea of what he's capable of, not just, you know, when it comes to his powers, but also mentally, you know, maybe be like, okay, yes, these are his abilities, these are his powers, and also this is what he's capable of when it comes to his intellect. Maybe he is a great hacker, maybe he, you know, retains some information, or maybe it's a side effect of his ability. We don't know what route they're going to take for Black Lightning. Like I said, we're still pretty much guessing, but I saw this article and I thought to share it with you guys. I figured that this is actually a pretty good guess, and I was actually going to take this route, and no point in me, you know, trying to, you know, do something elaborately different when someone made a valid point online via an article and all that stuff. So I just wanted to share it with you guys, and for the most part, like I said, this is going to be a pretty chill live stream. So let me see, anything else I want to discuss? Oh yes, so Marvel Runaways, and, you know, this whole Kevin Feige career-ending mistake, whatever. I'm not really going to go too much of this article because, believe it or not, I really don't, I won't say I don't care about the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. It's not so much that I don't care, but it's more or less just, I think there's a reason why he canceled, the same reason why he canceled, I guess, not he specifically, but why they canceled the Netflix shows when it came to like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, all that stuff. Now, we recently found out too when it came to I guess Jessica Jones and a couple other shows that they were going to be brought over into the MCU and kind of rebooted, but I think the same actress who was playing Jessica Jones got, you know, kind of recruited back. I think Mike Coulter didn't, because right now I think he's doing a show, so that might be more of a scheduling issue. Maybe later that can change, whatever, we don't know. But basically Marvel is trying to roll them into the MCU timeline, I guess, officially, in terms of making them closely related to certain events, tie them into certain events a little bit, you know, tighter. Because when it came to the Netflix shows, it was a little loosely referenced when it came to characters. Like, they would just mention things like, hey, the Incredible Hulk or Iron Man. You know, they would mention characters, but they wouldn't mention events that were happening. For example, like when Infinity War was out, we still had a Netflix show out during that time. Even Jessica Jones didn't reference the snap, half the population. Nobody else did. I think Luke Cage was actually didn't come out just yet, or might have just came out, one of the two. But they didn't reference the snap, so that's definitely, like I said, I think that's what they're trying to do, kind of cancel everything and then roll everything back into a singular timeline, because now we have Disney Plus, so they can do that, and they have the platform, the funds, and they have the audience to do it. And Asmodeus Black, I only seen a few episodes of Black Lightning, never really read the comic books, but they are any characters in any comic you would like to see on the show. Any characters I would like to see on the show specifically? Obviously the most obvious answer I think would be, like, obviously Static. You know, they do have, like, you know, interactions with each other because their powers are very closely related. If anything, they're almost identical. Halo's in Young Justice, but she also has a standing in the Outsiders comic, the original Batman in the Outsiders comic, so she definitely would be somewhat I would like to see. Her powers are very interesting. I feel like they need to flush out Grace's character a little more. For the most part, the route that they took, she's not really an Amazon like she is in the comics, but because I think her power set was very different in the comics in terms of I guess the team itself, even though I do like what they're doing with her character, because they used her name, took a different route, gave her different powers, but they can tell a different story with her, like, you know, a place of abuse compared to, like, her character was an Amazonian, which means, you know, she was naturally a strong character. She was just a character that was just, you know, able to deal with whatever life threw at her, because that's what Amazons do. They can deal with whatever. But Halo, Static Shock, kind of want to see deeper what they do with Grace's character. What else? Who else? Metamorpho, I would love to see him. He is extremely powerful. People don't realize how powerful he is. He's also another person who can take out a huge chunk of the Justice League without any problem at all. And plus, Metamorpho can go against Black Lightning and stand a really good chance. I mean, he might be able to defeat him because his powers are more or less based on the fact that he can turn into any chemical compound and basically counteract abilities or create things like, you know, like if you've seen Justice League way back in like what 2004, Metamorpho was able to turn into kryptonite just by, you know, just if he knows a compound or what it's made of, you know, he can just morph his body into that, different types of radioactive materials and all that stuff. So he basically can turn into like say a carbon rod or something like that, absorb radiation or absorb energy, do whatever he wants to do. He can pretty much, you know, beat a lot of heroes just due to the nature of his powers. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of other characters like Metamorpho were designed to beat powerful characters like Superman. I would like to see a young Static first, and then hopefully over the course of like, you know, I would like to see him as like a junior, possibly a senior, and then over the course of time I want him to be a young adult, so that way he kind of has the experience, but he's not as experienced as like Black Lightning, for example, who's been in the game for like 20 plus years. So I would like to see more or less something like that related to that. But I think I'm pretty much done with this the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger situation. Like I said, I've already done like extensive videos about the Cloak and Dagger situation. I've already done a couple videos about the Runaways, and I'm not really too worried about it. I feel like they'll make a return in some way, shape, or form, but it's more or less just whenever, you know, they decide it's going to be lucrative or if the fan base is worth it. That's all it is. So we did the Black Lightning. Let me see. I have over here some like open recipes and stuff like that, so check that out. Let me see if we can. There was something else I feel like I was missing. Let's see. Let me go back. Episode 7. Was Metamorpho more powerful than Morph from X-Men? It's hard to really say, because at least for Metamorpho, I have not seen limitations to his abilities. But that's a hard one. Let me see. Let's do a little research. Actually, I can do this later. I can always do another video about this later. Okay, so Morph from X-Men, right? Sorry, I'm like typing with like my my pinkies. Morph X-Men. All right, let's see. Reintroduce is Morph. This is original 616. Let's see. It says abilities: shape-shifting, telepathy, levitation. He's a skilled actor, highly trained and efficient organizer, good prankster, expert, computer engineer. All right, so this is what's weird about Metamorpho. There was, I think, one instance in which he was able to like basically find the chemical compound of skin and basically, I guess, look a lot more humanoid compared to what he would usually look like. Like, I don't know if anybody watching doesn't know who Metamorpho is. Let me see. Like I said, I'm typing my pinkies. I don't type like this. See, it'll automatically put metamorphosis by nature. Metamorpho, DC Comics. Okay. So remember, this is how Metamorpho looks on the regular over here on the right on this Wikipedia page. But then you have like Kevin Sidney, who's Morph. Now, his abilities more or less rely on like him shapeshifting, his physical appearance, but not so much his chemical compound. And he does have like, you know, telepathic abilities, but it would just be, like I said, it's a different power set. So it's hard to say. I don't know if Metamorpho would be immune to telepathy. Maybe he can turn his body into some sort of chemical, or, you know, a combination of chemicals that can be immune to it. But basically, I think, I don't know, that's a tough one, just because of the telepathy plays a huge part in this. Because remember, he can elementally shapeshift, and, you know, he has super strength and he's invulnerable in terms of physical damage, but I don't know how resistant he is towards telepathy. So I don't know, that's really difficult. I would say in terms of a sheer outright battle and the possibility that he could morph into something that's resistant to psionic energy that would potentially allow Morph to enter his mind, I would say Metamorpho could take this fight. But like I said, that's all about who's writing the story, and, you know, that's iffy at best. But if I can give Black Lightning's wife a power or powers, what would it be, and what would she gain from them? I think I would give her the ability to understand how things work. I don't know if anybody saw the TV show Heroes, like, you know, back in the day when it was really popping, but that's basically what was Sylar's original, I guess, ability. Where, yeah, he was stealing people's abilities, you know, and all that stuff, but his original ability was he was able to see how things work. He was able to, okay, this is their power, go into their brain, see how, you know, a specific part of their brain interacted with the other parts of their brain in regards to their power, and then basically he would either steal that part of their brain and then insert it into himself or eat it, whatever. But whatever he did, he was able to figure out how it worked, and then he was able to imitate it, or he was able to, you know, figure out some way to integrate it into his body. I would give Lynn that ability, the ability to see how things work, because not only will she be able to pretty much cure everything when it comes to metahumans, but she'll probably be able to see that Jefferson, as powerful as he is or was, you know, she'll probably be able to understand that, yes, even though he was one of the people who lived, who survived the initial green light interaction when it was in like flu shots, he can be a lot more powerful. Because of the formula being incomplete. And I think that's going to be something they're going to hit on, because I feel like they've been slowly suggesting that, like, yes, the original green light formula was incomplete, and the reason why she's using Tobias for the most part is because when he's taking that super enhanced steroid drug, his body, his bone marrow is releasing chemicals, because he was also a part of the original vaccination. So her finding a complete way to, I guess, to completely stabilize the green light could mean like Jefferson can get a shot and his powers will, you know, completely stabilized, completely and utterly stabilized, and then he'll be on par with Jennifer, or at least really, really close, because then at that point, then you have two powerhouses that can be equal to each other or pretty close to each other. And I would like to see that kind of fight, because I feel like at one point or another she's going to kind of wild out, and then I'm going to need Jefferson to put her in her place, because right now nobody can take her. But in general, I feel like that's the power she deserves, to see how things work. Then she wouldn't really need to be on that, you know, diet green light drug. I feel like she's going to end up with powers in some way, shape, or form anyway, but who's to say? Personally, I'm starting to really not like her character. Has nothing to do with she's a woman. Obviously, has nothing to do because she's black. Nothing like that. Just, I feel like they're writing her to be like really not just annoying, but she's like, she feels like she knows better than everybody. And it's not just with Jefferson. She does it sometimes with her daughters, but I think because lately she hasn't had too much interaction with her daughters, they haven't showed it between them. But hello Tracy Lee. Oh yeah, it's been a little bit. We just kind of was going over, you know, the possibility of who Brandon is, his abilities. I'm not gonna, you know, go through the whole section again, but I guess I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. I was saying there's a possibility he could be the diet version or their version of Breon Markov, who in the comics is Geo-Force, who was originally from Markovia, and he was someone who was in charge, who was I believe Prince, but then eventually got on the Outsiders team, worked with Black Lightning, fought Black Lightning, was on the Justice League for a short amount of time, all that stuff. So I think that's basically what he is in terms of his abilities, the show's version of Breon Markov. Now, for a show like Black Lightning, I feel like it can definitely last maybe, it's already on 3, and then they already limit the seasons to about 16 episodes. They don't extend it as long as The Flash. So there's a lot of story to be told, actually, because the Outsiders comic books is something that's, I think, still going on, but there's a lot of political aspects to it when it comes to the Outsiders comics, because that's where they're drawing a lot of these characters from. The Outsiders, Perenna, who was Jennifer's therapist, she's from the Outsiders. Obviously Black Lightning, Lightning herself, Thunder, all this Markovian stuff is from the Outsiders comics. So there's a lot of material for them to use when it comes to the Outsiders comics. So there's a possibility that this show can last a while before it feels stale, but I would say a good solid stopping point for the show would be like season 6 or 7. And at that point, it'll still be juicy, succulent, and then you just end it right there. And then, boom. But, yeah, 6 or 7 is good. 6 or 7 is about good. And then maybe they can pass it on to, I don't know, maybe Jennifer or Anissa, because if we grow up with them, at that point, they'll be of age to be heroes themselves, and then, maybe we won't have to dive too much into, their background, because we already know what their background is based on the TV show. But then that will leave issues like they don't have many villains outside of the villains that their father interacted with, or the Outsiders interacted with, and most of those villains and concepts will be introduced during the Black Lightning TV show, so they couldn't really pass on the show to anybody else. So yeah, 6 or 7 is about good, and then I think they should end the show with everyone, yes, they're their own heroes. Jefferson kind of is still Black Lightning, but he's not like someone who's heavy in the superhero game. He lets his daughters kind of do it, and then every once in a while he might make an appearance, or he might pop out, and then just, all right, I'll help you here and there, because he has the experience, and then they move on with their lives, and maybe he gets back with Lynn. Personally, I think Jefferson deserves someone better than Lynn from the TV show, because she is a headache. In the comics, TV show, the Young Justice, the reason why they even got divorced wasn't so much of the fact that they just didn't have nothing in common, or that Lynn was just unlikable, but she couldn't bear the fact that her husband was just a superhero, and she stuck to it. When he retired, they tried to make it work, but when he came back, they just couldn't work it out because he put his life in jeopardy all the time. And then I think her perspective about him changed when their kids had abilities and they looked up to heroes and they wanted to do the same thing. I don't think they really officially got back together, at least in the more core runs of Black Lightning, but for the most part, that's going to be interesting. Gravedigger, I'm glad you said that, actually, because I was doing some research on him the other day, because I only remember hearing about Gravedigger maybe like twice when it comes to that. So we're gonna discover this together, actually. So if I remember correctly, he was a good guy working for the government. See, I was already looking at it. Let's see. He was first appearance in Men of War, August 1977. Checkmate Volume 2. Checkmate is also in the Arrowverse, obviously, as you know, when it comes to, Diggle, that whole situation. Let's see. Mostly United States Army, aliases, Rook Alpha, trained military commando, and marksman. Okay. So basically, this seems like he doesn't really have, alignment. It might be one of those situations where, he could be a hero for hire. I don't know. Let's see. What does his fictional character biography say? Ulysses Hazard suffered from polio as a child and was tormented by bullies. After a regimen of exercise, he was able to condition the body to an optimum. When the United States entered World War II, Ulysses joined the army but found himself in a segregated military in which all black soldiers were put to work in menial units, burying bodies, supply delivery, and kitchen work. Frustrated that he has overcome polio but is not allowed to fight, he invades the Pentagon to show that he has skills necessary to fight. He is made into a special one-man unit by the Pentagon, code name Gravedigger. Basically, someone who's just working for the country. Sounds like a kind of Captain America-esque kind of, origin. Later during combat with the Nazis, he receives a scar across his face and resembles a cross. Also, Ulysses had at least one son, Achilles Hazard, who joined the United States Marine Corps. In the backup story Snapshot Remembrance in the retrospective miniseries DC Universe Legacies number 4, set during the reunion of July 4th, 1976, it is revealed that Ulysses Hazard did survive the end of the war, staying in the army and reaching the rank of colonel. The other attendees were Jeb Stewart in the Haunted Tank, The Losers, and Mademoiselle Marie, and possibly the unknown soldier. Marie's son, who resembles Sergeant Rocky, briefly appears. So yeah, so it seems like he doesn't have any particular alignment. Basically, it just seems like he was working for the government organization in DC Comics known as Checkmate, basically, which is kind of like a branch part of the government. I feel like when it comes to Black Lightning, though, instead of him working for Checkmate or being associated with Checkmate, since Checkmate has already been introduced into the Arrowverse via the Arrow show when it came to Diggle and, you know, him working with the government himself,